Hey, what's up, everybody? How you all doing? Welcome to Astopods. I am Hassan. Today's podcast, I'll be talking about Breonna Taylor. Yes, for all my BLM people out there, I know your feet are up right now. So what I'm talking about today, Breonna Taylor, why is she in the news? Okay, now let us back up a little bit. For my ardent listeners, you know that I've already covered this story when it first came out. I mean, not when it first came out. I covered the story before, and I gave a very detailed narrative of what happened. So you can go and listen to the podcast that I made back then. So this is just like a follow up of what is going on with the Breonna Taylor's case. Well, we also know the Louisville Police Department, they issued a statement of apology. I think the lady even got some money. All right, so let's not forget that the city, the city officials agreed to pay $12 million for the death of the 26-year-old, emergency technician. That's Breonna Taylor. So they agreed to pay $12 million to our family. And also they're also going to make some changes that is aimed at preventing future deaths by officers, So those are the things that has happened in the past. But that's not why she's in the news today. That's not why she's trending today. Why she's trending is because what happened was that our boyfriend at the time that incident happened, whose name is Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker was Breonna Taylor, if you remember, and he was the one that shot first. That's what all the report says. He shot first. He fired one single shot. Okay. And then the police department returned that shot with 32 rounds of theirs. So it was some of those shots that was fired that happened to be the fatal one that killed Breonna Taylor. Okay. Now, that's where this case actually is right now. So what happened is that Walker was initially arrested and was charged with assault and attempted murder of a police officer after he shot Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly when Louisville police officers entered his girlfriend's apartment on March 13, 2020. So which means that in the next 4 days from now, it will be 1 year since Breonna Taylor was brutally murdered. Now, so that's why it's in the news, because the judge of that case actually has dismissed the case. Literally. So the judge's name is Judge Olu Stevens. Okay, who happens from that name, and I can tell that he's a Nigerian. Okay, Olu Stevens, who dismissed the case. And the way what that name means is that when your case is dismissed like that, it means that case that cannot be reopened again, that is, you're free. Forget it. It's a closed, done deal, because there was no wrong. They couldn't find any wrongdoing in what happened that night. Why he shot first. Remember, guys, that if you listen to my podcast back then, those officers were on mufti. They were on streetwears. They were not in their uniform. So for that reason, they couldn't tell if they were police officers or they were, thugs, and it was dark. So, and when they knocked on the door several times, they couldn't get any response. That's maybe like police or whatever. They didn't get nothing from them to make them understand that it was the cops that was knocking on the door, banging that hard in the dead of the night. So that is one of the things, the issues right now. So the main issues that, like I said, the reason why this case is trending is because Kenneth Walker is a free man. The case has been dismissed. However, Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly, all right, has filed a counterclaim. All right, that's what it's gonna. So there's still a civil counterclaim that Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly filed against Kenneth Walker. So that's still pending. But as far as the case itself is concerned, it's no more. It's now null and void. There's nothing about it. This man is free. He did not do anything wrong, because this whole thing happened, and when they brought out the case, it was going to be more like a sacrificial lamb, because they were going to pin everything on him, that if he had not shot at them, maybe they wouldn't have opened fire. But when you see that it was 1-32 of theirs, so the level of return was not proportionate. There was no fire exchange. This guy had a shotgun gun and he was scared. He was scared and he just opened a fire, and then you shot 32 times. However, the one he shot hit the officer though. Let's not make no mistake about that. The officer, the Sergeant Mattingly, was struck by the bullet, on his leg, and had he not gotten the urgent medical treatment that he urgently needed at the time, probably would have died, because it was going to bleed to death. But, he survived it. And to have to that point, if you read the news, if you go back to listen to my podcast about Breonna Taylor, it was one of the best that I did. And I really liked that particular podcast. There were other officers that were just shooting sporadically from all over the place. And 2 of those officers has been fired. They have been, relieved of their duty. They are no more part of the police department ever again, because of their reckless endangerment, of the people around. Because remember that some of the shot that was fired actually pierced through the wall and went into the neighboring apartment, So, and in that neighbor's apartment, I think it was a pregnant lady with a child. So it could have gone crazy, like that could have struck the baby or struck the pregnant woman. We know what could have happened. And the fact that the person even went outside the building to be shooting from outside into the building, it just shows a lot of really thoughtless actions, okay? And it makes you think, if these people were white people, I'm talking about Breonna Taylor, if that was a white neighborhood, would you go on that shooting rampage for that long? Would you do that? Would you start firing from all over the place because somebody will open fire at you? Wouldn't you apply some kind of decorum and some professionalism in your approach? So there's a lot of racial profiling going on in that particular scenario. And why would you go there with your mufti? Why aren't you, telling them telling them that you were the police, and so that they would have, been prepared. Don't forget that they went there on the information that perhaps Breonna Taylor had some drugs in the house, because they saw out with the man, Mr. Glover, which she was dating at the before that time, because she had broken up with this man. They had a breakup, so they thought that she was probably stashing some drugs and money for this man. So when they broke into the apartment, they didn't find nothing. There was no drug, there was no money, so there was not really nothing for them to really arrest, or she was not a person of interest, so to say. So why then do you go and you have already, and guess what, even before that time, they have even arrested Glover himself. He was already in their custody. So this lady was not the person of interest, really, because you really arrested the main person that you wanted to arrest. So it was one of those things that it just shows that sometimes it's good for us to be professional in our conduct, in our approach, and we'll have and the way officers use force is just it's not right. It's not right. They kill a lot of people, and it's not just black people. A lot of white people, a lot of white folks are dead because of this officers, reckless endangerment, excessive use of force. So that's one of the things that's going on. And I implore you guys to go listen to the one I made earlier. And it's just a very funny thing, because this judge himself, Olu Stevens, okay, as of 2016, if I'm not mistaken, he was suspended for 90 days without pay because of he chose not to have an all white, jury, because it was like, no, we cannot have an all white jury, and the prosecutor at the time, whose name is Tom Wine, was not happy with that, and eventually apologized that it was maybe being too racially motivated and all that. But he's a man that has a record of standing up for what he believes in, and understand that he's a black man in a white man's country. And it's a good thing that he has always been fair and being true to his convictions whenever he has to, be preside over any case. And this is a classical case of Dr. Olu Stevens also showing that he can make decisions and make things that are very affirmative. So big ups to Dr. Olu Stevens for this big verdicts and conviction. So it's a good one for Kenneth Walker today. It's so sad that Breonna Taylor is not here with us to see this day. But hey, I hope that this event that's going on would make the people in the armed forces be more conscientious about their environment, about their community. So understand that the way a white man talks is different from the way a black man or black woman talks. And we are all human beings, and we all deserve to be treated with respect, dignity, and of course, utmost decency. So we need to just keep the habits, keep the fire burning, and knowing that we are Americans and we should treat each other with love and respect, and we should live in harmony, most importantly. So my next podcast after this one I'll be talking about George Floyd. That's another thing again. Why is it also trending? We'll talk about that shortly. And that's the end of this podcast. Again, big up to everybody that was involved in this particular case. And watch out for my next podcast. I remain Asan Raju. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.